And if you get towels, you might want more than two rather. You'll want 2 blankets, or you could always, instead of a blanket, you could do, for those of you at home, you could do 2 bed pillows. Even a bed pillow would replace a blanket. So, and you probably don't need blocks today. So we're all going to start just seated, and you might sit on a blanket, you might sit on a pillow, just a little bit of support so that your hips are supported, and create some more ease in the low back. Yeah. Good. And so I want to share this. I was listening to this teacher, and he was talking about this idea from Eastern contemplative thought, which is that there are these 3 levels of consciousness. Like at first, the first layer is we're just concerned about ourselves, right? We just want out for me and mine. The second layer, we start to realize that, when other people do well, we do well. That we're interconnected. That when the earth does well, right? Even like the space around us, our environment, that we benefit. And the third layer is that we start to become more conscious that we're not just our body, we're not just our job, we're not just, these identities that we put on ourselves, that there's something deeper within us that is unchanging, that when we start to align with it, we could call it our heart. When we start to align with this deep inner truth, that it serves as our guide through our world, and we feel more interconnected with the whole world around us. So I share that because as we come into our practice tonight and really focusing on the heart, right? The heart is what is, they say in yoga, connects us, where we connect with everything around us, where we find this connection. And when we get to the Nidra practice, it's where we're starting to touch into that part of us that is unchanging, that is beyond words. So I just share that for you to take with you into your practice tonight. As we come seated, just go ahead and close your eyes. And you might take a hand to your heart and a hand to your belly. And just start to welcome your breath into your body more fully. See if you can find a breath in through the nose, out through the nose. And as you breathe, start to feel that breath first into the heart area, then into the belly. And as you exhale from the belly to the heart, back up. So you start to extend that breath out and find a little more space within. And just notice any tension as you're arriving in your body, any physical tension, any physical sensation, discomfort or comfort. And you might notice then on an emotional level, your mood, how any emotions that are present, how they live in your body right now. Not pushing anything away, allowing space for all that is here. Allowing that space for all that's here to start to connect you back to a sense of wholeness. That you don't have to be one way or another. You can have all these multitudes within you. And then finally, notice your mind. Notice what your mind is like in this moment. The quality of your thoughts, the pace of your thoughts. And then just returning back to your breath. This idea that there's prana or energy, what animates us, that rides on that breath, and just noticing where that prana wants to move, where it doesn't move. And just checking in, what are you needing tonight from your practice? It's gonna be very personal, only you need to know. But what are you needing? And then you can just release your hands down and blink your eyes open. And we'll set up for our first practice, our first pose, by just grabbing your blankets. We're gonna do a little bit of crafting to set our blankets up. So we're gonna unfold this blanket long. And again, if you're using different blankets at home, I'll show you the shape you're going for and you can make it happen. So we're gonna fold it into thirds. We're going for a nice thin blanket, but a little bit more of a fold than if we were to have it flat. Okay, and then you can do this with the other blanket too. So thirds with the other blanket. If you have bed pillows at home, you can use your bed pillows. So we're gonna stack these two blankets. These might be a little high, so we're gonna stack one blanket and we're gonna use the other blanket under our head just so that we don't stress our neck. And we're gonna come lying on our side, and you have the option with this first blanket of making it a little higher of a fold right now. So you could double it up. We wanna get this opening on the side body. We're gonna start to open up space for the breath. So we'll start lying on the left side, and you can have your armpit right over the blanket, right on the edge of the blanket. So the blanket's right under your ribs, and then your head comes resting on that other blanket. Now, these things can be highly individual how you set them up. For some of us, that first fold of the blanket just doesn't give us much. You might double it. For some of you, you might need a little more support under your neck, so you can double the other blanket too. Okay, so we're just starting by finding some space. The knees are stacked. And then you're going to take your top arm, that right arm, reach it up to the ceiling, turn your palm so it's facing towards your head, extend that arm alongside your ear, and you can either let it rest up above your head, or you might bend your elbow and just let it rest behind your head, right? Just so that you're getting a sense of opening in the armpit area and in the right side of the ribs. And then once you find this, you can let your eyes close. And just by being in this shape, you'll start to feel space open up on that right side of the ribs, that top side. And the breath will start to become fuller in that area. So the work in yin, once we're in the shape, our work is to do less for the most part. To allow the shape, the setup to do the work for us. You can allow your breath here to be effortless. So you don't have to direct it anywhere right now. But you might notice how it changes. And as the breath becomes more spacious, just notice if your mind also shifts. If you can soften more this last little bit that we're on this side. And then from here, you can sweep that top arm down by your side. Right? And we're going to switch just gently, simply to the other side. You can, press yourself up and just turn yourself around. Same thing, right? So this time we'll take the right side of the ribs onto the blanket, however you have it set up. Your arm can come right between those two blankets, head on the blanket above the arm, knees stacked. And then you'll inhale, reach that left arm up to the ceiling, spiral the palm, turn it toward the head, and then extend it overhead. Right? Maybe it's just reaching ahead. Maybe you bend that elbow. Right? Some of this will depend on your arm and shoulder, how it's feeling tonight. You don't have to force anything. You don't want to add pain. So if you get into a point where it doesn't feel good, there's some pain, back out for sure. And then once you arrive in the shape, right, just let your body soften. You might imagine that right rib, or even feel it kind of forming the shape around that blanket. And you might feel that left side of the ribs opening up with the breath. I was talking right at the beginning about those 3 different levels of consciousness. And, we tend to, as people, go live our lives in those different levels at different times, right? There are times when we all get caught in like just worrying about our own predicament, worrying about how we stack up. And then we have those moments where we remember others. We turn our gaze outward. We remember a feeling of connectedness. One of my teachers used to say that a way to get to that second layer of experience of consciousness is to ask how you can serve others. Right? How can I be of service when we get caught in that first layer? And then maybe we get glimpses of that third layer of consciousness. And as we continue to practice and evolve, we might live more of our time in that area, in that experience. I just consider, as you practice, what level you're living in, or what level you're arriving in right now, and not to judge yourself. And in another breath, sweep that top arm down by your side. Good. You can make your way back up. We're going to turn back to the first side, but we're going to do something a little different this time. We're going to, if you folded the blanket like I did, you're going to unfold it because we don't want it quite um, as thick. And this blanket, that's under your head, you can adjust it if your neck feels like it's stretching. We want the neck to feel at ease. We're going to slowly release tension down the spine with these next movements. And you might also experience it as not just an opening and not just a release in your spine, but also a calming of your nervous system. So the way we'll start is the blanket's going to be pretty high up, even under the shoulder a little bit, and your head can rest on this blanket, this other blanket. Your knees will be stacked. We'll start on that first side. So lying on the left side, right rib on top. And we're going to start here. Hand can be on the belly. Since you have bolsters and you might even have blocks, bring your bolster behind you. You might want to push it away, and that's fine too, but it's nice to have. So I'll show you why. Where we're going to go is we're going to start with a gentle head turn, but then we're going to open up. And you might, as you open up, you might go big and, open that arm all the way out, or you might not go big. You might just take the elbow to the bolster. You don't have to go for the deepest stretch, right? Think of what we're really trying to do is release tension in the spine, is open up deep internal parts of our body. So it doesn't have to look big. So we'll start lying on that first blanket, even shoulder on the blanket, head on the second blanket, and that might be a little higher. Knees stacked. And this top arm right now, you can rest it on your side body, you rest it on your belly, you can rest it on the floor, wherever it's comfortable. And for all of us, it might be a little different. Okay. And then just close your eyes for a couple breaths. Let yourself arrive in this shape. And even feel into your belly. See if you can bring some movement of breath into your belly. So often when we're holding tension, we hold it sometimes in the shoulders and the neck and sometimes in the belly. If you can just allow these areas to soften. Or another way to think of it is, can you do less in these areas? And then we'll begin with a gentle movement of just the head and the neck. With your inhale, you're going to roll onto the back of your head till your face is about pointing to the ceiling. And with your exhale, bring your head back to your starting point. And all that's moving is your neck and your head. Don't let that top shoulder move. So it's not a big movement, it's a small movement. And I want you to move it slowly. So go slower than you think. And as you're moving your head and moving slowly and gently, just see if you can feel more ease. So the slower you move, generally the more tension you can release. And sometimes when we do have a lot of tension in that area, that top shoulder wants to move with it because we want to go further. But if your head doesn't turn all the way to the ceiling, just allow that to be. You might find that as we release tension in this movement in the spine, that you do find that freedom later. So after about 4 or 5 rounds, just let the head rest again on the side. And now from here, we're gonna do a bigger roll. So now you can let that shoulder move as you inhale, rolling open so that your head will face the ceiling. You roll open, we're gonna stay open, maybe allowing that right elbow to rest on the bolster, maybe opening that right arm out wide. You can even use that bolster if you open that right arm wide or a pillow and just rest that arm straight out, palm to the ceiling. right? Taking a few breaths here. The eyes can close. And you probably can feel in your body that you're getting into the upper spine, just below the neck. And that there's also this sense of opening the lungs, across the chest, across the fingers, the meridians of the heart. And the breath can be effortless. And you might just notice, though, where your breath wants to move, what part of your body. Notice if there's holding in the jaw, let it soften. And then from here, you're going to roll back to your side. And we're going to come up just a little bit. We're going to move this blanket down a little bit. So it's going to come lower. It's going to come right under the ribs like it did the first time, but it's on a lower level. So now your arm is between the two blankets, your shoulders between the two blankets. Your palm can come resting again on your side body or your belly. And with your inhale, you're going to roll open again, opening that arm out or keeping the hand on the side body, maybe resting the elbow on some support. Letting the eyes close again. So now we're getting a little lower in the spine. And again, can you soften any holding in the belly? Any holding in the fingers? Any holding in the jaw? Let the breath move how it wants to move. And then come back onto your side. We're going to move that blanket a little bit lower. So now it's down more in the waist area rather than under the ribs. Might even be a little bit under your hips if you're short like me. Same thing, once you set it up, you inhale, rolling open, and now you feel that you're getting lower on the spine. You might notice how the breath is a little different in each of these segments of the spine. You might move more into the belly now. Letting yourself soften any tensing. And if your mind starts to get busy, if you can follow your breath, you don't have to direct it. Just watch where it moves. Noticing where the exhale begins. From here, we're going to roll back onto the side. Simply make your way up and just turn to the other side. And we'll move the blanket back up. So now blankets are touching, right? Where the head and the other blanket is. You'll lie on your second side with your shoulder now, arm extended out, shoulder on that lower blanket, head on the higher blanket. Knees stacked. Hand can rest on the belly or the side body. And I forgot to say, you might want to move that support behind you, right? So we start with that head movement. And again, you're not moving the shoulder. Inhale, just rolling the head toward the ceiling. And exhale, rolling it back to the starting point. Doesn't have to be a big movement. Doesn't have to be a big turn. Instead of feeling like you have to get somewhere, if you can just observe how easily your head turns. And as you do this about 4 or 5 times, can you slow the movement down, make it about a movement to release to release tension in the back of the neck. You might notice that as you slow the movement down, you notice more. And after 4 or 5 rounds, you just let the head rest on the side for a breath. So from here, you're going to roll the head and the shoulder open into that twist, first in the upper back, right? So the elbow can rest on support, or you can open that arm out. Eyes can close. And just like we did on that first side, notice where the breath wants to go in this part of the twist. From here, we'll roll back to the side. And we'll move that blanket down. So now it's going to come under the wrist. And your arm and shoulder can rest between the 2 blankets. And then when you're ready, you inhale, opening into that twist. Arm comes out wide. Eyes can close. Notice if there's any holding in the belly. Any holding in the shoulders. Any holding in the jaw. And come back to the side. And this last segment, you move the blanket down a little bit more, about to the waistline, maybe the top of the hip. And then as you open up, right, where do you need support? Each time you open, it might be a little different because one part of the spine might move a little differently from another. but the work is the same. Can you do a little less and notice a little more? Notice where the breath wants to move now. You might find that holding or tensing in your body, that it shifts in each of these different segments. Maybe another area you can invite to soften. And then roll back to your side. And we'll make our way to seated. So you can move your bolster aside for right now, maybe behind you. We'll take a Baddha Konasana. So just getting into the hips a little bit. If your hips feel tight, you might find it nice to sit on your blanket. That'll just give you a little more support in the hips. If, on the other hand, you're someone whose hips are super flexible and open, you can sit on the mat. You probably actually don't want that support. But choosing the support that's going to feel good in your body, feel really supportive in your body. We'll take the soles of the feet together, and you can use a blanket on your ankles or to rest on. So we'll just start by, one thing I wanted to add. If your knees are lifting up high, you could place blankets under it. You could place blocks under it. You could place support under it. You guys all look great. But if you're at home and your knees are super high, putting some support under the thighs might feel nice and let you get a little more release. So from here, we'll just walk the hands forward and we're going to bow in. You don't have to get far. We're not trying to, really work our muscles in this shape. So we're really working our nervous system. We're really working the mind. And we're working the hips a little bit. So as you come forward, see if you can draw your breath now. So a little more active than what we've done, but draw your breath into the low back ribs, right into the kidney area. And it might even feel nice to draw the breath into the low back as well, maybe the hips. And sometimes as we are in these shapes, discomfort comes up. If there's pain, you want to back out, but if discomfort comes up, this is when we really start to practice yoga, right? So maybe that's focusing on your breath. If you can follow your inhale and exhale. Maybe that's stepping back from your thoughts. If your mind gets busy, can you watch your thoughts as if you're watching them from afar, or you might imagine putting them on clouds as if you're watching them pass by in the sky. If emotion comes up, see if you can pinpoint in your body where it's most intense and where it's least intense. They say that emotions only stay in our body 90 seconds if we let them flow through. But when we start to resist them, they just get stopped and kind of stay and feel like they're never going to leave. See if you can allow the breath to keep flowing. You might notice that continual change of the breath. Breath is a reminder that our thoughts are always changing. Our emotions are changing. Our bodies, our circumstances. Another couple breaths here. And then you can make your way up. So I'm going to suggest for our Nidra tonight a restorative pose. You don't have to do it. You can do whatever feels comfortable for you. But if you'd like, you can set up in this kind of a recliner-like pose, right? You could place, I don't know why I told you guys not to get blocks, but you can place a block under one end and you can sit before your block, your bolster. You can have even Baddha Konasana leg, so feet together, knees wide, and you can have the feet quite a ways from you. Take one of your blankets, place it, wrap it under the ankles, gives you a little more support. And that other blanket can be like a pillow. If you're at home and you have two bed pillows, you could use one pillow, just lay it back flat. You might do two bed pillows, or you can place one of your bed pillows kind of across under the other, so you have a little bit of a lift in one end. You can also skip this pose. If this doesn't seem like it's going to feel good, then, or you get into it and it doesn't feel good, you're welcome. You can skip it and you can just come into a Shavasana. So, you want to block? Okay. The most important thing is that you feel comfortable. So if you find that you're in this shape and it's not comfortable, you can't settle, give yourself permission to get out of it, okay? Because it is a little bit more energizing than what we typically do, just the setup. I'm going to turn the lights down a little bit and then we'll get started. And the other thing I didn't mention is you might want a blanket, and if you are comfortable, I'm happy to bring you one. You want one? It does, your body temperature will tend to drop once your body relaxes. So you can place it on you, yeah. You're welcome. Just let yourself settle. And again, if you need to move at any time in your practice, in any way, let yourself be comfortable, even if your shape doesn't look like what I suggested. If it's just lying on your back, that's fine. One of the keys to being able to drop into a state of nidra is feeling comfortable. And if our body isn't comfortable, our minds can't relax. They tend to stay busy or agitated. You might make sure your low back feels easeful, supported, that your neck feels supported. Draw the chin slightly down, which is this way yogis say that we calm our mind, and it really does have that calming effect. And then just notice your breath right now. Let it flow however it wants to flow. Invite in all of the sounds in and outside of this room. And just let your attention jump from sound to sound. See if you can pick out the furthest away sound. And the closer in sounds, the sounds just in this room. And then the sound of your own breath. You don't have to change your breath. If you can listen, either with your ears or with your whole body. And then with your awareness, draw a circle around your body with flowers. Draw a circle around your body with flowers. And just outside that circle, see your ancestors, loving, benevolent. Might be people, might be trees, might be nature. Just feel that you're held or protected. That you're loved. And outside that circle, draw another circle with flowers. And just outside that circle, just call in all the tools of healing you have in your life, all the things that support you. And outside that circle, draw a third circle with flowers. And outside that circle, see all the ways that you are supported in your life. And then distance yourself at the center of these three circles held in this space. Come back to that awareness of your breath, letting it flow freely. And as you watch the breath, start to notice the natural pause at the bottom of the exhale as the body shifts to inhale. And the natural pause at the top of the inhale as the body shifts to exhale. Don't hold your breath. Simply notice these natural pauses. And in those pauses, allow your mind to also pause. Dropping into the spaciousness in those pauses. That space where you forget any labels that you came in with and remember something deeper. And then let that go. Breath is effortless. Body can rest. The mind can rest. A part of you is aware. Begin to count down the exhale, starting at the number 27. Counting down each exhale. And if you lose your count, begin again at 27 as many times as you need to. And let the count go. Whatever number you got to, let it go. Breath is effortless. Body rest. Visualize the night sky filled with stars, vast, unending. And place a point of starlight right between the eyebrows, just beneath the surface of the skin. You might see that point of light, you might feel it, or you might sense it. Just repeat the sound, Cream. Mantra of the heart, Cream. And drop down to the throat center. Point of starlight. And that sound, Cream. Center of the right shoulder joint. See, sense, or feel. Point of starlight. And that sound, Cream. Center of the right elbow joint. Starlight, Cream. Center of the right wrist joint. Starlight, Cream. Tip of the right thumb. Starlight, Cream. Right index fingertip. Cream. Middle fingertip. Cream. Tip of the right ring finger. Cream. Right little finger. Cream. Center of the right wrist. Starlight. That sound, Cream. Center of the right elbow joint. Starlight, Cream. Center of the right shoulder joint. Starlight, Cream. Throat center. Center of the left shoulder joint. Starlight, Cream. Center of the left elbow joint. Starlight, Cream. Center of the left wrist joint. Cream. Tip of the left thumb. Cream. Tip of the left index finger. Cream. Tip of the left middle finger. Cream. Tip of the left ring finger. Cream. Tip of the left little finger. Cream. Center of the left wrist. Cream. Center of the left elbow joint. Cream. Center of the left shoulder joint. Cream. Throat center. Cream. Heart center, deep in the center of the chest. Starlight. That sound, Cream. Center of the right side of the chest. Starlight, Cream. Center of the chest. Center of the left side of the chest. Starlight, Cream. Center of the chest. Starlight, Cream. Throat center, Cream. Point between the brows, Cream. See this constellation of light and your body, a backdrop of space as vast as the night sky. Breath flows effortlessly. Bring your awareness back to the heart center, deep in the center of the chest. And see a cave of the heart. And you could walk into this cave of the heart. And as you enter, there's light, and you see an altar. Just notice what you see on this altar in the cave of your heart. As you look closer at this altar, you see a figurine seated like you, your future self. Notice her expression or his expression. Notice what they're wearing. And as you watch this future version of you, sit down before them in this cave of your heart. And this future version of you leans towards you and whispers something in your right ear that will help you. Something that you need to remember or that you need to take with you. What does this future version of you whisper? And then visualize yourself lying down before this altar in the cave of your heart. Lying just as you lie right now. Closing your eyes in this cave of your heart. And feeling your breath. Feeling your body on the ground right now. The support of bolsters, earth, or ground. The feel of blankets, clothing. The feel of air against your skin. Invite the sounds back in. All the sounds in and outside this room, invite them back into your awareness. Let the sounds of the traffic anchor you back in this room this Wednesday evening. And start to deepen your breath, deepen your inhales. Using this deepening inhale to bring you back into a waking state. You might blink your eyes open and close a few times, taking in the space around you, and then taking in the space within you again. You might wiggle your fingers and toes. If you're at home and you want to simply roll to your side and sleep, you can do that. Otherwise, as you're ready, you might slowly roll to one side. You don't have to rush yourself. You have time. But just have a sense that at some point you're going to roll to one side and rest on your side. And as you rest on your side, just take in what's important for you to remember from your practice. Just let yourself take in your whole practice. Whenever you're ready, make your way to a comfortable seat. If you want to stay on your side, you're welcome to do that. We'll take a hand to the heart, hand to the belly, just as we started. And just check back in with your own heart. Maybe remembering your connection to others. Maybe remembering your connection to something deeper, something unchanging within. Namaste. Take your time, take your time. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.